On May 2, 2000, at exactly 9:28 p.m., Christina Marie Riggs took her final breath. The 28-year-old nurse lay strapped to a gurney as lethal chemicals flowed through her veins. But what made this execution different from all others wasn't just that she was the first woman executed in Arkansas since 1845. She spoke chilling words before she took her last breath. As the jury prepared to decide her fate, Christina made a request that sent shockwaves through the legal system. She looked directly at the 12 people who held her life in their hands and said, "I want to be with my babies. I want you to give me the death penalty." A mother begging for her own execution. It was unprecedented, it was disturbing, and it worked. Christina became the youngest woman executed in the United States in modern times. But the path that led her to that execution chamber began long before that November night in 1997, when she killed her children. It started with a broken childhood, spiraled through years of depression and trauma, and ended in a crime so horrific that even she couldn't live with what she had done. Before we begin, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to this channel. Your support means the world to us. This is the final hour. Let's begin. Christina Marie Riggs was born on September 2, 1971, in Lawton, Oklahoma, but grew up in Oklahoma City. Her childhood was far from normal. Dark secrets haunted her family home, and by the time she was old enough to understand what was happening to her, the damage was already done. Christina suffered sexual abuse as a child. The trauma ate away at her innocence and left deep psychological scars that never fully healed. By age 14, she was already trying to numb the pain with alcohol, tobacco, and marijuana. These weren't typical teenage experiments. They were desperate attempts to escape the horror of her reality. At just 16 years old, Christina faced another life-changing moment. She became pregnant. Still a child herself, she made the heartbreaking decision to give the baby up for adoption. The loss of her first child created another wound that would never stop bleeding. After finishing high school, Christina chose a career that seemed to promise healing and purpose. She became a licensed practical nurse, working in home health nursing, and later at a Veterans Administration hospital. She dedicated herself to caring for others, perhaps trying to find meaning in helping people when no one had helped her. In 1991, Christina became pregnant again. This time, she was determined to keep her baby. The father wasn't involved, but before her son Justin was born in June 1992, she met John Riggs. John stepped into their lives and became a father figure to Justin. Christina and John married in 1993, and their daughter Shelby was born in December 1994. Hoping for a fresh start, the family moved to Sherwood, Arkansas in 1995, where Christina's mother lived. Christina found work at Baptist Hospital, using her nursing skills to support her growing family. For a brief moment, it seemed like she might have found the stability she had always craved, but the peace didn't last. The marriage crumbled when John allegedly struck Justin in the stomach. Christina couldn't tolerate anyone hurting her son the way she had been hurt as a child. She divorced John, becoming a single mother of 2 young children. Now alone, Christina struggled to balance her demanding job at Baptist Hospital with raising Justin and Shelby. The weight of single motherhood, combined with her unresolved childhood trauma, began crushing her spirit. She was drowning, and no one saw the warning signs. Christina's mental health was crumbling, and the cracks were getting deeper every day. Her depression wasn't just sadness, it was a black hole that swallowed everything good in her life. The childhood trauma had never been properly treated, and now new horrors were piling on top of old wounds. Working as a nurse near the Oklahoma City bombing site in 1995 had shattered something inside her. She witnessed unimaginable suffering and death, bodies torn apart by the explosion, children who would never go home to their parents. The images burned into her mind and triggered severe post-traumatic stress disorder. Every day at work became a reminder of how quickly life could be destroyed. The pressure of raising Justin and Shelby alone was suffocating her. She worked long shifts at Baptist Hospital, then came home to 2 demanding children who needed everything from her. There was no break, no relief, no one to share the burden. She was drowning in responsibilities while fighting battles in her own mind that no one could see. Her job as a nurse gave her access to powerful medications: morphine, potassium chloride, sedatives. These drugs were meant to heal patients, but Christina began seeing them differently. She understood exactly what each medication could do, how much was needed, and what combinations could be lethal. Her medical knowledge was becoming dangerous. Friends and co-workers noticed changes in Christina's behavior, but mental health wasn't talked about openly in the 1990s. She seemed tired, withdrawn, and overwhelmed, but everyone assumed it was just the stress of single motherhood. No one realized she was planning something horrific. Living in Arkansas, far from her support systems in Oklahoma, Christina felt completely isolated. She had no close friends nearby, no family except her mother, and no one who truly understood the depth of her psychological pain. She was alone with her demons, and they were winning. November 1997 marked the end of Christina's battle with her demons. She had made a decision that would horrify the world. She was going to kill her children and then herself. This wasn't a moment of rage or a sudden breakdown. It was a carefully planned murder-suicide, orchestrated by someone who knew exactly how to use medical knowledge to end lives. Christina had been stealing from Baptist Hospital for weeks, methodically gathering the tools she needed for her plan. She took potassium chloride, a drug that stops the heart when injected in large doses. She stole morphine, a powerful painkiller that could ease someone into death. She also obtained amitriptyline sedative pills from a local pharmacy. In her twisted mind, she believed she was planning a merciful death for her children and herself. On that November night, 5-year-old Justin and 2-year-old Shelby were sleeping peacefully in their beds, completely unaware that their mother was preparing to murder them. Christina had convinced herself this was an act of love, that she was saving them from a world of pain and taking them with her to a better place. She started with Justin. Christina injected the undiluted potassium chloride directly into her son's veins. But something went horribly wrong. Instead of the quick, painless death she had planned, Justin began screaming in agony. The concentrated potassium chloride burned through his blood vessels like acid, causing excruciating pain that no 5-year-old should ever experience. His cries of pain shattered the silence of the house. Panicking, Christina tried to inject Justin with morphine to stop his suffering, but it didn't help. Her son was writhing in pain, and the injection wasn't killing him fast enough. In desperation, she grabbed a pillow and pressed it over Justin's face, smothering him to death. His small body finally went still. Horrified by what she had just witnessed, Christina couldn't bring herself to inject Shelby with the same burning poison. Instead, she went straight to her 2-year-old daughter's room and smothered her with a pillow. Shelby never woke up. She died in her sleep, never knowing what was happening. Christina carried both children to her bedroom and laid them on her bed. She covered their small bodies with a blanket and wrote suicide notes explaining her actions and her pain. Then she began her own suicide attempt, swallowing 28 AUS amitriptyline pills and injecting herself with the same undiluted potassium chloride that had tortured her son. But Christina's suicide attempt failed. For 19 agonizing hours, she lay unconscious on her bedroom floor while her children's bodies grew cold on the bed nearby. Finally, her mother arrived at the house and discovered the horrific scene. Christina was barely alive, unconscious and near death. Justin and Shelby were gone forever. In June 1998, Christina Marie Riggs sat in a Pulaski County courtroom facing the most serious charges possible: capital murder. Her defense attorneys argued she was not guilty by reason of insanity, pointing to her severe depression and the post-traumatic stress disorder she developed from working as a nurse near the Oklahoma City bombing site. The evidence of her mental illness was overwhelming, but the prosecution painted a very different picture. Prosecutors claimed Christina didn't kill her children out of love or mental illness. They argued she murdered Justin and Shelby out of pure hatred. They portrayed her as a cold-blooded killer who planned the murders methodically, using her medical knowledge to obtain the drugs and execute her plan. The contrast between the defense's portrayal of a mentally ill mother and the prosecution's image of a hateful murderer created a stark divide in the courtroom. The jury ultimately sided with the prosecution, convicting Christina of capital murder. But what happened next shocked everyone in the courtroom and made legal history. During the sentencing phase, when her life literally hung in the balance, Christina made a statement that left the jury stunned. "I want to be with my babies," she told them, her voice steady and determined. "I want you to give me the death penalty." It was an unprecedented moment. Defendants typically fight for their lives during sentencing, begging juries for mercy. But Christina was doing the opposite. She was asking them to kill her. Her own defense attorneys watched in horror as their client essentially argued for her own execution. Christina didn't stop there. She actively prevented her lawyers from presenting any mitigating evidence during the sentencing phase. When they tried to argue for life in prison, she shut them down. She wanted to die, and she wasn't going to let anyone stop her. The woman who had failed to kill herself with pills and potassium chloride was now asking the state of Arkansas to finish the job. After receiving the death sentence she requested, Christina made another shocking decision. She waived all her appeals. Most death row inmates spend years, even decades, fighting their sentences through the court system. Christina wanted none of that. She convinced the court to allow her to drop her appeals, clearing the path to her execution. The legal community was baffled. Public reaction was mixed between sympathy for her mental illness and outrage over her crimes. Christina had created a situation no one knew how to handle, a defendant who genuinely wanted to be executed for her crimes. Christina was transferred to the McPherson unit, which housed Arkansas's female death row. Unlike most death row inmates who spent years fighting their sentences, Christina remained steadfast in her desire to die. She never wavered, never changed her mind, never showed any interest in appealing her case or seeking clemency. Her time on death row was remarkably short by modern standards. While most death row inmates spend an average of 15-20 years exhausting their appeals, Christina would be executed in less than 2 years after her conviction. She had essentially fast-tracked her own execution by refusing to fight it. Christina's case was historically significant in the most tragic way possible. At just 28 years old when executed, she would become the youngest woman put to death in the United States during the modern era of capital punishment. She was also set to be the first woman executed in Arkansas since 1845, a span of 155 years. During her final years at McPherson, Christina spent her time quietly, reportedly showing remorse for her actions, but never backing down from her request to die. She didn't grant many interviews or make public statements. She seemed to be waiting patiently for the state to fulfill her wish to reunite her with the children she had killed in a moment of devastating mental illness. On Sunday, April 3, 2000, Christina was flown from McPherson unit to the Cummins unit, where Arkansas's execution chamber waited. She had just 2 days left to live, and she spent them quietly, finally at peace with the decision she had made nearly 2 years earlier. For her last meal, Christina chose foods that seemed almost heartbreakingly normal. A supreme pizza with a side salad, pickled okra, strawberry shortcake, and a cherry limeade was a mix of comfort foods that painted a picture of someone trying to find small pleasures in her final hours. The meal seemed like something any person might order on a regular evening, making the circumstances even more surreal. On May 2, 2000, at 9:28 p.m. Central Daylight Time, Christina Marie Riggs was executed by lethal injection. She became the 5th woman executed in the United States since the death penalty was reinstated in 1976, and the first woman executed in Arkansas since 1845. Before the execution began, Christina offered her final statement. "No words can express just how sorry I am for taking the lives of my babies. No way I can make up for or take away the pain I have caused everyone who knew and loved them." Her voice carried genuine remorse for the horrific acts that had brought her to this moment. As the lethal injection began flowing through her veins, Christina spoke her last words. "I love you, my babies." In a cruel twist of irony, she was executed using potassium chloride, the same drug she had used to torture her son Justin before smothering him to death. Christina's case forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about mental illness, justice, and tragedy. Was her execution justice for two murdered children, or simply another tragedy in a story filled with them? Her case remains unique. A mentally ill mother who killed her children and then begged the state to kill her in return, creating a situation where nobody truly won. If this story shocks you, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more true crime cases that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Like this video if it opened your eyes to the dark side of human nature, and share it to keep others informed.